ago, when I was visiting my parents, I stumbled across some ancient photography of my childhood, which is scary. And one was a picture of my baptism. And there I was with my parents and godparents, very blonde, which is very strange, and very curly hair, being baptized in this big Polish Catholic baptismal font. And it's interesting that so many Christians, when they say, when did they start following Christ, it's that moment, their baptism. And for most of us, that's when that seed of faith is planted. It might grow, it might sometimes stop, it sometimes might even wither, our Christian faith. But it starts in baptism. That's where everything happens. And for most of us, that baptism is something we don't remember, and it wasn't something that came about by our own free will. It was kind of forced upon us. And that's really where things begin. And it's interesting, our gospel today is a unique one, like they always are. And it's almost kind of strange. There's this phrase that starts in Luke's gospel, it's very unique, and Jesus sets his face towards something. It's not an expression that probably most of us would use today, and it really wasn't used that often back in Jesus' day. And it meant he was going on a journey and had a definite goal. And why it was very controversial, that beginning part of our gospel today, is that Jews would go towards Jerusalem to pray. Samaritans went to Mount Gerizim to pray. So there was a definite distinction, and we've talked about this before, that the Samaritans were looked with very great suspicion because they looked like Jews, they prayed like Jews, but they really weren't Jews. And for the Jews of Jesus' day, Samaritans were looked as kind of shady characters that you didn't want to trust. So here comes our brave apostle saying, Jesus, let's come in and get these Samaritans and burn them down. It's almost ridiculous if you think about it. But what Jesus is really saying in this gospel is the power and importance of going on a path, going on a journey. And sometimes our life's journey is where it wants to go. We set life goals that maybe we want to get this education or have this relationship or have this family. And sometimes life does not go where we want it to go. It just doesn't. Things happen. Sometimes we go off the path. Sometimes we stall out. Sometimes we just break down. And Jesus is saying in our walk of faith that starts with baptism, sometimes that's going to happen. Sometimes we're going to be asked to do things. And I want to make it clear that I know this gospel sounds kind of harsh about don't bury people or don't say goodbye to your parents. But what Jesus is trying to do through this hyperbole is say to us, what is essential in our walk of faith? And what are those things that sometimes distract us? What are those things that distract us from being a Christian and living that life that Jesus sets forth for us? And what are the things that kind of veer us off course? Like burning Samaritans. What are those things? And I think we have to ask ourselves that question continually. I don't care if you're 10 or 85 or 95. What are those things that are distracting us from setting our face towards Christ? What are those things? What are those things that are distracting us? And it's so easy that we can fall off the course because our world that we live in is not exactly conducive to always being the best person that we're made to be. It's easy for us to get distracted by ego, by materialism, by power, by greed, and the list goes on and on. But Jesus says, set your face towards Jerusalem. And that means set your face towards that moment of faith. Set your faith towards going to God and living that life of faith. And that's one of the important things of being a Christian, is that we do this journey together. There's a wonderful prayer that I always pick for funerals, and I know funerals doesn't necessarily sound like something we always want to talk about, but there's a wonderful word that says to be companions on the way in our prayer book. Companions. And a companion means not someone who walks ahead or behind you, but a companion who's someone who walks alongside you, like a patriot. So we need people to walk alongside of us. How do we keep our path focused? And I would say the first thing we have to do is focus our life upon prayer. That basic prayer. Prayer as a community on Sundays, around the Eucharist, prayer in private, prayer through Scripture, prayer all the time. That's the first thing we need to do to keep ourselves on this pathway. The second thing we have to focus upon is love one another in community. How do we do faith in community? Because we can't do faith alone. We have to do faith with people. And so many times people say, well, I'm a Christian, I don't go to church, I'm just kind of a loner. Well, the danger of that is, whose feet do you wash then? Who do you tend to? Who's there to support you when you fall? And how are you supporting someone else when they fall? You need community. You need a caring environment to nurture and love and support you. And finally, you need service. You need a way of caring for each other. I'm not saying that we all need to set up food pantries, but we each need to care for each other in our journey and allowed to be cared for. Not only should we be always giving, we should also be able to receive. This week, ask yourself, where did your faith journey start? It might have started at baptism when you were a little kid or an adult. But how do you keep your faith focused on your faith? How do you keep it focused? So ask yourselves, how is your prayer life? How is your community life? How is your service to others? Those three elements keep you on that road, keep you focused on your journey, so that when life strays you off, you can place yourself back on. Ask yourself, where is your faith?